All right, everybody. That took forever for me to go live today. I apologize. It's like, do this, do this, do this. Okay, am I live? Now I'm live. Now I'm live. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just going to wait a few minutes here for people to come on in. Today we are talking about trust. And so why is this masterclass existing? Well, let me tell you, it dropped in this morning because I have been struggling with trust in a variety of ways, but at the same time, my level of trust is so deep. And what I've realized, I hear people talking about over and over and over again, is where are they in trust, out of trust? Who should they trust? Where did they get heartbroken, betrayed, fearful? That trust is real. So I want to start out this masterclass today by talking about trust in general. So let's start out with, how do you know you're trusting something or someone? Like, what does it mean for you to trust? I want to ask you that question, and I want you to tune in for yourself. What does trust actually mean for you? Because a lot of people, when they first think the word trust, they think about relationships. I trust my friends to keep secrets, or I trust my partner not to cheat on me, or I trust God. A lot of people trust God, the universe, their spirituality in some way. But where else does trust show up in our life? And I just want to remind you that trust really shows up for us in life in every single situation, in every place that we go. So think about it this way. We live, most of us that are watching this, live in America, in the United States. And majority of us will trust that the electric will be on unless there's a huge storm or unless we're notified that the power is going out. Right? There's just kind of this natural trust that the power is always going to be on. We can throw a turkey in the oven. We don't have to worry about it, right? We don't have to pay attention to what's going on. We don't have to have a lot of backup plans around electricity unless it's the middle of winter, unless there's a snowstorm, or unless there's a hurricane, or unless there's a something, right? So we have this natural trust, strong trust in our electric companies. Now you go to a place like Cyprus, the island of Cyprus, and their electricity goes on and off all the time. Like, my friend lived there and she'd talk about it. She goes, you never knew when the electricity would go off. Because you'd just be like cooking a turkey and the electricity will go off, and it could be off for an hour. It could be off for a day. You don't know. You just don't know how long. You just go, oh, the power's out. Guess I better figure out how to cook this turkey. Am I going to cut it up, throw it on a grill? Am I going to cook it on a, something outside? Oh, it's raining. What am I going to do with it? Right? So there's always there's this like trust. The trust of the electricity is a way trust than the electricity that we have here. And this is that we trust everything. So many things. I'm not going to say everything. But when you're driving, for those that drive, when you drive down the road, there are rules of the road that the majority of time you trust people to obey. You trust that the majority of time people are going to stop at a red light. You trust that people are going to stop at a stop sign. You trust that someone's going to see your brake lights and they will stop behind you. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not looking out for the people that are making mistakes or are texting or maybe are just disobeying the rules. But in general, there's a very strong trust. If you have a new car, you trust that that car is going to work super functionally for a really long time. If you have a really old car, your trust in the reliability of your vehicle may be a little bit less. So why am I bringing up all this stuff around trust? When we look at relationships, we get to look at what level of trust do we have in different areas of our relationships. That is friendships, societal relationships, family relationships, intimate relationships, meaning like your one-on-one or your intimate partner, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your whatever. But what is your level of trust in the relationship and in different aspects of the relationship? So let me give you an example. What kind of level of trust do you have around their ability to communicate? Like, do you trust that they're communicating everything that you need to know? Or do you feel like you have to check in with them all the time? Hey, did you remember to do this? Did you remember to do that? Hey, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? How are you feeling? What's going on? What's your level of trust around their ability to communicate to you? And what do you need compared to what they can give? Because sometimes we stop trusting people in small ways because they're what we expect them to do, what we expect them to be, how we expect them to communicate, how often we expect them to take out the garbage, what kind of plans we expect them to make or not make, what we expect around their timeline, are you showing up on time or not, what we expect them to contribute, what we expect them, all these things. We have these expectations that sometimes turn into trust because they've done them consistently, or they turn into a lack of trust because they haven't done them consistently. And now we get to differentiate. Am I losing trust? Or am I learning that I'm placing my expectations on them, and their expectations or their understanding of the world is not the same? For example, when I grew up, 15 minutes early was on time. Like, you just show up everywhere 15 minutes early. And that way, if something goes wrong and you're late, you are still on time. Because it's the respectful thing to do. It's the appropriate thing to do. It prevents all kinds of chaos and confusion. It prevents all kinds of stress because you don't have to worry about, is there a parking spot, or something happened, or you can't find the right door, or that you wrote MapQuest down wrong or something like that, right? Before we had GPS on our little cell phones, right? So there's all these things around time that I learned as a child. My partner likes being on time, meaning between 5 minutes early and 5 minutes late, because that's on time, depending upon the circumstance. Now, not that he prefers to walk into a meeting 5 minutes late and have everybody look at him, but also part of him just doesn't care. Like, that's just who he is. And he owns it. He knows I like to be a little bit early. But this sets up a different level of communication, right? Because now in my mind, I know about him that he runs more late than I prefer. Now, what happens in relationships is that a lot of people take that to be like, I can't trust them to be on time. So now we get to step back. Is that a trust thing? Is that like the electric company here in the US versus the electric company over there in Cyprus? Like, is it actually a trust issue, or is it a communication issue or a preference issue? Because I will say that if I say, hey, we are starting at this time and I need you to be there early, I need you to be in the seat by this time, he will absolutely make sure that happens. So then it comes down to, it's not that I can't trust him to be on time. It's just that his natural default isn't naturally early, the way I see early, or on time, the way I see on time. But some people start taking this as a lack of, not necessarily trust, but a lack of, what's the word I'm looking for? It starts with a C, not commitment, a lack of accountability. I can use the word accountability for now. It's not the word I was looking for. But that someone can't be relied on in a certain way to fulfill certain expectations. So then it goes back to, who set the expectations, and was there any communication around the expectation? What is the timeline? So let me tell you another story. So we're getting ready to move. My boyfriend and I are buying a farm. And so it's a big deal, right? And I am a natural take charge kind of person. I've got a big network of friends that I like using. And so, he let me default to me doing all the things, right? I'll find the insurance agent. He's going to look for a quote too, but really we're probably going to go with one of my people. And I set up the appointments with the lawyers because A, my schedule is more busy than him, but B, I know what lawyers I want to use for all the contracts. And then I set this up and I set that up and I set all the things up, right? And so I'm very, right now, like, we got to go Friday. Like, Friday, it's all happening. And I've got clients and I've got classes and I've got things and I'm, creating things in my life, and I'm calling in new programs and I'm calling in new people, and I'm leaving spaciousness in my schedule for my new clients so I can support them in the way that they need and then that they deserve, right? So I'm creating this spaciousness, I'm creating this openness, but at the same time, like, I'm on a schedule. and I have a certain schedule that I'm sticking to. So what I'm talking about, I might have frozen. Sorry if I froze there. So where this became a challenge is the other morning before Easter, we had a lot to do. I had a lot to do. And I knew I had a lot to do. He hurt his foot. He can't take the dog for a walk right now very well. So I knew I had to walk the dog. I knew I had to make stuff for Easter. I knew I had some social media posts to pull up. I knew I had to make yogurt, which I just pulled out. I just pulled it out, and it actually is wrecked. So I'm kind of annoyed that I spent the time making the yogurt when I was running late anyway. But anyway, so made the yogurt. I had to wash the sprouts. There was things that I absolutely had to get done, right? So I asked him for a couple of ways that he could support me. In my timeline in my head, I knew exactly when those things needed to be done. In his timeline, he was, as long as he got them done, it worked out. So of course I came up to ask for help when he was getting ready to go in the shower. And what did I do? I told you I needed help with this. I can't believe you're taking a shower right now. Fine, I'll go do it myself. And I caught myself in my mind doing a little right? Like, he said he would and he didn't. So then, same thing happened. Then another thing, I was like, you want to do, let's do this right now. He's like, no, I can't do that right now. And I was like, but you said that we're going to do it. We said we're going to do it every morning, and now we're not doing it. Well, fine. And the little ticked off in my head. And all of a sudden I started thinking, you know what? I just really can't trust him to follow through on anything he says. And isn't it interesting that I went right to trust? Because this is what we do as humans in relationships. A couple of things go wrong, and instead of saying like, wow, maybe I could have communicated my timeline more clearly, or wow, maybe I could have asked for help in a different way, or hey, maybe I could have said, hey, is it that you can't do it right now? Because it's really important that it gets done right now. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do it myself. Is there any way we can kind of rearrange this? Or can you do it in like 2 minutes? Like what is no, not right now mean to you? Right? I could have been so much more clear. So many ways. But instead, my brain went back to a default of I can't trust, which is what so many people do in relationships. And then the arguments and the fights and the concerns and the resentments go around, I can't trust. And now that's a really simple example to see, which is why I picked it. But we also do this in broader circumstances. We do this around our comfort in communities. We do this around our comfort walking down the street. We do this around comfort with our government. We do this around comfort with sometimes our churches or our spiritual places. We lose trust. And we all know that once trust is broken, it's very hard to rebuild. So in big situations, like going back to relationships, like infidelity, like lying, like agreements that were made and that were broken, like big agreements, but sometimes little ones too that were made and that were broken. Huge disappointments. We start losing trust. Because sometimes it's easier to lose trust than it is to admit that maybe we had a part in it too. That maybe if we'd communicated more clearly, that maybe if we had stepped back and looked at the ways that we are safe and that we are powerful and that we are creative beings and that we can create the reality that we want, we end up losing trust. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about with that. When we listen to media, for example, there's a common narrative about many, many things, right? And this is not to get political, but there's a common narrative about many, many things. And then narratives change based upon what networks you watch and or what your algorithm says or who you are. Like we got in this big conversation even yesterday about Instagram. We're not going to get into right at this moment, but there are these things that they pull up. And sometimes even the comments in your social media posts, in the YouTube channels, in the Instagram posts, when there's a lot of comments, sometimes the ones that pull up for people are different because the algorithm wants them to see what they already believe and what they're already taking in, or what will create a reaction so they stay on the channel longer. Okay? So we start seeing things, and we start believing things, and we start losing trust. Trust around how safe things are. Trust around what is happening. Trust around who is telling the truth or not. So let me give you an example around that. During the time of COVID, I was reading a lot of scientific papers because I like looking at research. And there was a lot of research coming out pretty fast as people were trying to figure out what COVID was going on. So there were slightly different studies around COVID showing different things. Different studies around vaccinations showing different things. Different people coming out and telling their stories about how they got pulled from this and how this changed and they were part of this participant group. Here's what happened to me. Here's what happened to me. And different narratives were happening. So there's one side, quote unquote, where there was a bunch of narratives around all the vaccine reactions. And then there's other narratives around all the people that are sick. And if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to die. And there was threads of truth in both sides. And what did we trust? We trusted whatever we were seeing in front of us because it's called confirmation bias. So we start seeing whatever's in front of us. And that becomes what we trust. That creates our safety. Because safety and trust are very interlinked. Okay? And then so when a new narrative comes along, we start shifting, right? So sometimes we go, oh shoot, look at that. Wow, that new research came out and now I'm seeing it a different way. Or hey, more evidence came out and now I'm seeing it a different way. Or we go, you know what, that new evidence came out, but I'm still going to believe this way. We call that belief perseverance. That in despite of any other input, any other evidence to the contrary, we are going to hold on to our own belief. So what does this mean for us in ourselves and in our relationships? For example, let's take it back to Easter yesterday with my boyfriend. So if I had decided to keep looking at, and this has happened to me before in relationships, so I'm going to be really honest, it's really easy to drop down the slippery slope. Once I start seeing all the things they're doing wrong, all the things that aren't going right, all the ways that I'm not supported, all the ways that nobody's helping me, all of those in quotes, my brain is focused on where can't I trust? Where am I not getting support? Where am I at risk? And then that becomes all I see. Why? Because it's the safety mechanism of our brain and everyone does it. Everyone does it. So then all of a sudden, if we don't check ourselves, if we don't reevaluate, if we don't touch back with ourselves and say, is this actually true? Is this what's happening? We start building up trust issues, resentments, anger, fear, and we forget to drop back into trust. Trust in ourselves, trust in others, and trust in divinity. Because where can we trust overall? Many of us don't trust ourselves. Why? Where does that come from? It comes from many things. But let me give me a few ways. Society telling you that you're wrong. Well, you believe that, but that's not right. You have a different religion. You have a different viewpoint. That's not the way that we were taught you. Right? We're taught sometimes not to speak our mind. You know, it doesn't happen so much these days, but way back in the day, it was, kids should be seen and not heard kind of mentality. You don't know anything. You're just 20. Just wait till you get older. Then you'll know something, right? We're like, our beliefs, our understanding about the world, our ability to speak wasn't always honored. And that can go in many other ways as well. Where we make a decision and someone told us that we always make stupid decisions. We always make wrong decisions. And we stop trusting ourselves because we're wrong. Right? People override our opinions. People override our judgments. People tell us we don't know better. You don't have enough information. And we override our own judgments and knowledge until suddenly one day we don't know how to make a decision about who to date. We don't know how to set a boundary. We don't know how to say no. We don't know how to say yes. We don't even know what we want and need because we don't trust ourselves anymore to actually tune into our heart and say, heart, what do you want? This is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I deserve. And we go, well, you're asking too much. That's not possible. That is impossible. That's impossible. You can't get that raise. Remember when I was 20, I was going to ask my boss for a raise and my boyfriend said, he's not going to give you a raise. You just do massage. Why would he give you a raise? What else are you going to do to like make yourself more valuable? So I went and asked for a raise with that belief in my head. Did I get a raise? No, I didn't get a raise. Of course not. Because I went in there going, yeah, you're right. He's not going to give me a raise. But now I feel like I'm going to ask for one. Because I told myself I would. I told other people I would. So of course he didn't give me a raise. Because I already believed he wouldn't. I didn't trust myself. I didn't walk in with confidence and authority being like, here's the way I've already actually overperformed. Here's how long I've been doing this. Here's all the continuing education I've been making. Here's how I throw your clients back at you when they say, well, maybe I should just get massage instead of getting chiropractic too. Here's how I'm supporting your practice as much as you're supporting mine. Therefore, I think I deserve a raise. And plus, you're taking over 2/3 of what you charge. And I have to wait for my money all the time. Of course I deserve a raise. So trust in ourselves, in our beliefs, in our word, in our value and our worth impact so much in our life. It impacts who we date, how quickly we stay or end relationships, how valuable we feel to other people, and it even impacts how we hear compliments and how we hear other people love us or don't love us. I was on a few podcasts lately and I said, when people tell you you're ugly, do you remember that and take that more to heart than if I came over and told you you're beautiful? Because most of us remember the negative things, not the positive things. And the negative things that we hear about is break our trust within ourselves. And when we break our trust sometimes within ourselves, we have two options. We either step up, move that stuff out, move it energetically through our body, and we go to our higher source. We go to the God, life, the universe, whoever it is, whatever it is that you look at to gain your strength. And you sink deeper into trust. Without the evidence being there right away. Because just like Easter was not on my timeline, some things aren't going to be on the timeline that you desire. Were you ever young and like you really, really wished you could date somebody, or maybe you wished you get your ex back? Something like that. Right? You really, 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 really wanted something so bad. Maybe you even prayed like, oh, I'll do anything if I could just win the lottery. I'll do anything if I could just have that ice cream cone. I would do anything if I could just date that person again. And the universe didn't deliver. And you went, yeah, see, can't even trust the universe when I come in this hard and with this much desire. And sometimes the universe knows better than you, right? Right? Like we all know, like there are times where we're like, woo, thank God I didn't get that wish. Woo, what a hot mess that would have been. Because something better came along. Something more powerful, something more potent, something more beautiful, something more aligned, something that served us better. Even if we didn't necessarily know it at the time. So we're doing 3 classes in this series, and this is a short class on purpose. A, because, I just put up the class today, but also because I just wanted to bring up the ideas to you around, I want you to notice before our class on Thursday, how do you engage with trust? Where is it easy for you to trust? Where is it hard for you to trust? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust others? Where is it easy for you to trust others? Where is it easy for you to trust yourself? What has broken your trust in the areas that have broken your trust? What has broken it? What's calling to be healed so you can step into a deeper level of trust again? Think about it. Because you deserve to trust yourself. You deserve to trust others. And that's not to say you need to give trust to people that betray you and cheat you and lie to you. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that even when those things happen, because they happen to all of us, we don't have to project that onto the next person that comes into our lives. Yeah, we can maybe filter a little better, maybe learn a little bit, but we don't have to project. And we also don't have to mistake fear for untrustworthiness. Just because you're afraid of something doesn't make it untrustworthy. Just because you're afraid of something doesn't make it wrong. Just because you're afraid of something doesn't mean that you're actually in danger. But your brain will tell you all the ways that you're in danger. Because that's its job. So if you were to step back and say, how could I, if nothing else, in XYZ situation around politics, economics, the climate, your family, your housing, your food, your whatever it is, your job, your career, your whatever, how could you step back and say, okay, I may not trust that XYZ is going to happen. But what I do trust is I trust my power to step up. I trust my power to be resourceful. I trust myself to build community. I trust myself to focus on the joy and the happiness and the gratitude every single day, because that is what's going to build the quality of my life. So even if all this shit out there is going on that it doesn't align with my values, or that doesn't align with whatever, or that makes me feel fearful, I can still trust in my community, my small groups of people, my whoever it is, my own resourcefulness, my own bank account, my own whatever it is, my own dog, my own gun, my own whatever, to help me see me through this. And can you do that in the most powerful way for yourself? And once you've decided that, you know what, I can trust myself. I can trust these people in this way. It's not to exclude trust from everybody else, but it gives you a base of confidence and a base of power with which to live your life instead of living in fear. Because the energy of fear does not serve you at all. It does not make for a good quality of life. Action in fear does not good action make either. Action in clarity, in confidence, and in internal power makes amazing action. So what are you going to choose for yourself? What can you trust? And how can you frame trust in your life in a way that allows you to open your energy, open your heart, be present with yourself and the people that you love. Enjoy. and practice that. And we'll see you on Thursday.